Why does Bri Collins need to meet Allison Wolfe? We got Tiger's Jaw. We got Bratmobile. This gets real. We talk about the profound idea of realizing that you were there. Allison talks about seeing Nirvana back when they were Skid Row and then become Nirvana and just this whole experience. And Bri's a little bit amazed that, she was there at the beginning of Nirvana. Similarly, Bri with Title Fight and the Metzingers and all these cool bands that came out of Scranton and Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. She was part of it, but does it feel profound in the moment? Does it feel profound in hindsight? We talk about how you have to go away from home to find out who you are, find out what you're seeing your people are making. You need that outside view to see inside out, and the urgency and the logistics of making art as an adult. This is an incredible conversation. Jack Forehand, let's roll some clips.
And I do remember the first night that I stayed out on a school night to see a band, because I was a real goody-goody, was to see Nirvana. And it was their first show in Olympia. And they weren't even called Nirvana yet. They were called Skid Row.
Still,
I remember seeing that show and thinking, oh, this band, it sounds like it's going to be really big. At the same time, they still weren't necessarily everyone's favorite band in town. The Melvins played a lot, and of course Nirvana worshiped the Melvins and came from the same town. So there was just a lot of cool, weird things going on.
There's just something with Northeast PA, like there's always been a music scene that was really like, there's nothing else, like the blue collar mentality, the DIY mentality of like, if you want it, like you got to work hard to get what you want, where it's like, yeah, all my best friends, like pretty much we met in high school. We went to different high schools maybe, but like even my husband, we've been dating since I was 16.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You're married.
I'm married, yeah.
Oh,
we
my
got
God.
married on our 15th anniversary.
Wow.
Yeah. But we met because we played a show together, his band and my band, and then we were friends. And then eventually it was like, yeah, we're going to date.
It's weird, though. Sometimes in the moment, it's hard for me to, like, when someone's kind of like, oh, my God, and it's hard for me to think, like,
Oh, yeah. I really struggle with that, too, where I'm like,
take a compliment. I'll be like, what do you mean? It's just me, and I'm just here sloppy and whatever.
Like, I'm a normal person. I'm actually really weird and nerdy and, like, like, you could just, like, talk to, it's just to, like, remember that and, like, have to consider.
Yeah.
That someone cares who you are.
I know. It's something that maybe we take for granted, all coming from like kind of punk rock scenes or whatever. And sometimes you don't realize that maybe a lot of people don't necessarily have that or didn't come from kind of broader communities of people.
You're watching Just Press Record right here on Cultish Creative YouTube, brought to you by panoptica.com. Check them out online, see the world through stories. Now, Just Press Record, this is the show where I take two people from my network who have never met before, but I think for a reason that they will try to guess by the end of the show why I had to introduce them and capture for you here with a blind calendar invite where they both just showed up and we just press record. It's a good time. I'm shivering with anticipation for this one. Who's with me? What do we know? Okay, we know she's a Spice Girls fan. Were they feminists? Were they in sync with the Riot Grrrls? I'm deferring to the next guest for that answer. But in the meantime, I hear they were a pretty rockin' concert. I'm guessing like Montage Mountain or somewhere like that.
Montage Mountain, 1998.
Now, if nothing else, to go from seeing huge touring acts with dance routines and costumes on stages to local bands in church basements, a girl can dream. And she did, with a little help from AOL Instant Messenger and MySpace along the way. Fast forward today. You won't find her running up the Rocky Steps in Philly. You might find her running a tab at Bona Pizza in Scranton, because who needs the eye when you can have the jaw of the tiger? Really? It's the Rockette Balboa of Steamtown herself, Brianna Collins.
Oh my God.
Welcome to Just Press.
Thank you. That introduction just blew me away. Thank you.
Well, this is the goal. Now, who could I possibly need to introduce Bri to? I am certain of one mutual thing, and that is she has definitely been in a boy band before, and I will defend Deep Lust as an alternate antidote in the spirit of Jodeci to the Backstreet Boys all day if I have to. Either way, Deep Lust once warmed my cold, cold heart. And if nothing else, I'm going way back. She had to pick between the local new wave club and the local punk rock club back in high school in Olympia, I'm told. Think if she made the other choice for a moment. Feathered hair, hungry like the wolf with an E on the end, who knows? Maybe she'd even be goth? Could it have been? Fast forward today, and while yes, I bet she could crush the Rocky Steps, because if you haven't seen her on stage, you have no idea what the energy level runs out. She's got a potty mouth for the ages. Bri, call Curry Donuts right now and tell them you want a baby donut with girl germs on it, because we've got Allison Wolfe with us. Allison Wolfe, welcome to Just Press Record.
Thanks.
So I'm really excited to get both of you together. You're going to guess by the end why I wanted you to meet. I wrote down my answer on the back of this card. We'll see if I'm right. But the first thing I want to do, we got to go merch related first. Now, first off, do you want to plug this wonderful pizza restaurant, Bri? Do you want to just
want a pizza?
Can we just
Downtown
shout that out?
Scranton, Lackawanna Ave.
Right there,
great.
not far from the
It's
mall.
nothing fancy,
No, but it's
but it's
good.
great.
It's good stuff. So we're doing merch questions first, and you'll start figuring out each other along the way here. I know it. So inside of this, and I love this edition, and I want to just shout this out. I'm going to hold this up. I need you to tell us the story. Allison, can you see this image on the middle of this record here?
What is it? It's a
This is
heart?
actually fun. Yeah. Bri, can you?
grab something while I'll talk while.
Okay, because this is one of my favorite pieces of album art, I think, in the collection. There is rarely I see something and I'm like, I want that blown up and put on other things. It's so damn cool. And whenever Bri returns,
Oh.
Bri's responsible for it.
Original.
You got the original hanging out in the room?
Okay, so yeah, this is my office. This is where I have
Okay.
a drawer that I put everything in. So that self-titled art, like that whole cover art, the layout, the everything was the second version of the cover. The original was when we put it out on CD on Prison Jazz Records. And then
Great
that
name.
the pizza record, as it has now been called. I didn't name it that, but the world did. There is pizza on it, so it makes sense. But that was for when we put it out with Run for Cover. But I wanted to do a nod to the original art, which was just an orange CD. I have it, but it's an orange CD with the heart in white, and it's inverted on that record label. But I made it in art class junior year of high school.
Oh, that's so
Learning screen printing.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't know what like anatomical heart Victorian-esque filigree,
Ah,
but very into stencils too. But yeah, that's where that came from. We
That's
needed
cool.
cover art, and I was like, oh well, I made this in art class. So yeah,
This is the way
Yeah.
it goes. What do you think about that, Allison? You know a few things about making some clip cover art and screen printing things?
Oh, well, yeah, but I wasn't very good at screen printing or anything. I went to Evergreen State College in Olympia, and I did take a printmaking class, which was really fun. But somehow I don't even remember actually turning in my actual like screen printing week project. I don't know why. Somehow I failed at that, which would have been the most useful
Would
for
have proved useful at some point.
for a
Okay.
person in a band. Yeah. So
I have a merch question for you. So first off,
Mm-hmm.
Record Store Day. This thing is killer. If you haven't seen this yet, big
Uh-oh.
fan of this one. Maybe the best colored vinyl that I've seen in a minute. I want to just, I'll shout out the
Let's
color
see
of
it.
this vinyl. It's so cool. What color is this? Do you even know what the name of this color is? Like, what do we call this? Do you have
it's
any
kind of
clue?
maroonish, doesn't it?
Yeah.
is it
Lighter than
opaque or
maroon.
transparent?
It should be opaque.
It's opaque. Yeah. Very cool. So I
We're
want to
just
ask,
trying to match the cover.
we're just trying to match. First off, Bri, I want your reaction on this. This line, and I live in a town where the boys amputate their hearts. Yawn.
That's really good.
It's really,
That's really good.
It's a little long.
it's a little long. But I wanted to ask you about this because I've been looking at this for decades now. We won't date all of us too much here. We're all going to college and had fun doing the band, so we decided to continue doing so as much as we could, whenever we could. We set out with a unified agenda about being women/girls making music, although we all agreed we thought that it was cool. Like what? Take me back to this, when this comes out originally. What's going on?
Well, okay. First of all, in that paragraph, It probably doesn't make sense, the although or whatever. I think I cut out some of the sentences in the middle for the reissue because to me, that paragraph sounded a lot like we don't agree on anything and we're not getting along,
Yeah.
which is the truth at the
Sure.
time. I mean,
Things
way back
happen.
when.
Yeah.
But
Things
to
happen.
me, I just, it didn't really translate that well to now. And I'm just like, we don't need to let people in on this window that we were infighting a lot back then.
I mean, the
So-
fact that you were transparent about that from the get, though, is
Oh, well, I definitely didn't write that paragraph. So, but I edited it. So, recently. But no, I just think, you know what I mean? It's just like, yeah, of course, people in bands or women getting together or whoever are going to argue about things and disagree on things, right? And we had a lot of pressure on ourselves back then, externally and internally and whatever. So to me, it just didn't really make sense for the here and now. So I was like, okay. But I realized when you just read it, I was like, well, some of those words say although they aren't things that are going against each other. So I could tell that something was taken out of the middle, which I took it out, but I can't remember what it was. But
Oh, that's so interesting. All right,
Anyway.
good. So see, we're already discovering
yeah.
hidden secrets in liner note editing from Record Store Day and old cassettes. I love where this is headed.
Yeah.
Okay, I have another like early show question for each of you, and then we probably should explain who you each are to each other in a minute too. But Bri, I hinted at in the intro, your first show now, it's a church basement, right?
Mhm.
Is it the Cretans? Who did you go see?
it was
Who's
the
fr-
Cretans.
All right. What
Um,
happens? How do you get there? What's the deal?
Okay, so it was very common in the state of Pennsylvania when you're a senior in high school, you have to do something called a senior project where you raise money for something or do something for the community. And it was very common for people to throw shows. And I was in 7th grade and I liked this boy and he made me a mix CD and invited me to go to this show, which my mom let me go to because it was someone's senior project show in the basement of a church. And I saw the band The Cretans, which is my friend Greg Burnett, who's in the Menzingers, his band before that. And we went to high school together, so it's just pretty funny how full circle it all is. And we also grew up in the middle of nowhere, so really small town vibes. But it was the first time I ever crowd surfed, and I think it just was like from that point on, I was like, yes, like that, like I found community. I think in that moment, and my mom and dad were like, oh, it went fine, and yeah, it was great.
It's always good when you can go home and tell mom and dad it went
Right.
fine.
Yeah, versus having to like tell them the show's somewhere and then it's actually somewhere else because you really want to go to the show. Felt good to just be. It was really exactly how it was.
And look where it led, because right out of that show, you end up kind of with a gig almost, right? Like not long after?
Oh, well,
Few years?
few years, yeah.
Jump
'Cause I
starts the
joined-
interest.
Yes, I joined Tiger's Jaw's sophomore year of high school, I think it was. It was 15.
Wow. Young.
So
That's
3 years, I
cool.
think.
What about you, Allison? What's like early shows? Because did I have that right? Was there a new wave club and a punk rock club in Washington or in Olympia? You're
Yeah,
hanging
in
out with both?
Olympia. Yeah, there was the surf club, which was the new wave club, and the Tropicana, which was the punk club. But back then, the difference between new wave and punk was very stratified. Like it was, you had to be one or the other, and they didn't mix hardly at all.
Yes.
And I'm sure it was because I think, back in the 80s, there was a lot of anger about punk people going new wave or basically selling out and becoming mainstream, which is what new wave was considered to be by punks. But I was maybe a little bit young for some of that coming into it. And also, I really loved all the kind of goofy girl bands from 80s new wave. Like I loved Bow Wow Wow and the Go-Go's and Missing Persons and, of course, Joan Jett and B-52s. I'm trying to think what else. Probably a bunch of stuff. So I really embraced that stuff. So I wasn't gonna, and I was kind of goofy. I wasn't like tough punk girl really, But then eventually in such a small town, anything alternative, they all kind of end up at the same parties. Eventually you're just like the one party that's happening that weekend, we're all there. So after the club shut down. So I think the Tropicana shut down first, the punk club, and then at some point the New Wave Club, I think, did. But anyways, but I remember going to punk parties first, and then I started going to punk shows. And I do remember the first night that I stayed out on a school night to see a band, because I was a real goody-goody, was to see Nirvana. And it was their first show in Olympia. And they weren't even called Nirvana yet. They were called Skid Row.
Still Skid Row. Excellent.
Yeah, by the way, they were called Skid Row for at least a year. And I don't know why. It's like no one ever talks about that or whatever. Because I remember I went away for a year once I graduated and came back and everyone was talking about Nirvana. I'm like, who's this? And I went and saw them downtown and was like, oh, Skid Row. I guess they changed their name. I mean, we know why they changed their name, but anyways. But yeah, and there was, not many people there at that show. Like, I want to say 20, but maybe it was more like 50. But there were less than 100 people there, that's for sure. So
does that feel like a profound experience in retrospect of like being able to say that you really were there?
Yeah, well, I mean, and by then I think Kurt Cobain, well, I don't know if he had moved to Olympia yet, but Aberdeen was where him and the Melvins and all them were from. So, which is even smaller than Olympia. So it makes sense that anyone from the podunk towns around Olympia came to Olympia as the big town. Although most of us are trying to get to Tacoma and Seattle for something even bigger, right?
It's like the Scranton, Philadelphia, where Scranton is the biggest city in the Northeast PA, bubble. But that you'd go to see big shows in Philly or New York because it's like a equal distance to either.
Yeah. And by the way, I have been to Scranton before. And I love it. I think it's beautiful. It was so cute.
Yeah,
I stayed there like for a weekend. And
Northeast PA reminds me of like the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah. It was really cool. And it was like, do you know, is her name Jessica Mione? Is that her name? I don't know if I have her name right. I'm such an idiot, but she used to put on this like punk rock flea market thing or something that was downtown.
Oh, yeah. I think that's still, it still does.
That still happens. I don't know if that's her name though.
It's
a very cool thing.
Yeah. And so
I follow it on Instagram, but I don't know if I know her name either.
I thought that was her name. God, I feel I'm an idiot if not, but I think her last name was Mione or something. But she's really cool and she invited me to come speak. So I remember I flew to New York, did some stuff there, and then I took a bus from New York to Scranton.
Bus.
Yeah, it was great.
It's the only bus that goes anywhere.
Yeah, it was really fun. And then I remember we went to some art opening the night before the flea market was happening, or the flea punk rock flea thing. And with that guy, the New York, it was like Michael Alec, is that his name? He was the guy. He's dead now. But he was the guy who murdered that guy in the back. It was one of those New York club kids, the one who murdered the other guy and chopped him up in the bathtub. Yeah, that guy was supposed to come to like a comic book store in downtown.
Checks out.
Speak. And so she told me, and we were like, what the hell? So we were like, let's walk over there and just see. I just was like, I want to see the murder. But he didn't show up.
Mm-hmm. Anyways, comics
also
on green, I'd assume.
It's got to be, right?
It's got to be.
No.
Gotta be.
And then I remember going to a little store and you could get like Slurpees or something, but they would be booze Slurpees. It was a weird, like little convenience store type place where it was kind of a secret thing. Sorry if it's not anymore, but yeah.
No.
And we walked around with like alcoholic Slurpees. I remember that.
It's still a thing. You can go into many a beer store and get yourself an alcoholic Slurpee in the greater Wilkes-Barre Scranton region.
Convenient. They're a store literally named Convenient. Usually they have them.
Oh, maybe that's it. It's really
there you
cool.
Go.
Oh, that's so fun that you've been there.
Yeah, I really like it.
So I want to ask about this too. And Allison, I'm giving this to you first because it's also a piece of weird greater Wilkes-Barre area lore. I get handed circa 1993, I'm guessing, a tape by a girl a year or so older than me. And she's like, you think you're cool, listening to like the Clash and the Ramones and everything else. But if you want to be cool, and of course I'm going to listen. So I got girl-splained is where the story is going. I want to hear you respond to this. But she was like, if you want to be cool, you need to start listening to this Potty Mouth album by Bratmobile, like right away. Like this in Bikini Kill needs to be where your focus goes. And here's a zine and here's this tape with one on each side. And, you know, it was great. It was a great moment. I got a lot of play, but I'm curious. That was me getting bandsplained by a girl how to listen to this. How do you feel about that? I have to imagine you coming up in the Olympia scene and everything else. You had lots of people telling you all sorts of things about your music and what you should like and what you should do. And I just need you to know that reverse experience happened. But tell me what your experience was like.
Like learning about new music and stuff like that?
Yeah. Well, and in the scene you were a part of, because as Bri was just asking, we got questions.
Well, I feel like I kind of had to go away and then come back in order to feel like I could really participate in it. Because I think before that, I was just kind of going to shows, but I wasn't really hardly talking to anyone unless I knew someone there. But sometimes I'd go alone. I didn't really know people, or I just knew a few people. And I'd stand in the back, and shows were still, well, I guess they probably still are, but kind of violent and stuff then too. And I was like not a mosher or whatever. So I'd always stand back or against the wall. And so I felt like it was something to observe, but not really participate that much in. And it wasn't until like I went away. I was an exchange student for a year in Thailand, actually. And then I came back after high school. And then I hung around that summer. And that's when I saw Nirvana playing a lot more. And then, but I also saw some girl bands. Like I saw Calamity Jane, this local Evergreen State College band, play downtown. And Kathleen Hanna had moved to town and had started a band called Viva Knievel. And they were practicing or playing a show. I'm not sure, because there was hardly anyone in the venue. So I don't know. And she kind of owned the venue or ran it. So I didn't know if she was practicing or performing publicly. But I peeked my head in and was like, whoa. And she was just kind of screaming and, you know, red-faced and, you know, I don't know. I was just like, whoa, what's this? So, and then I went away to college at University of Oregon in Eugene and met Molly Newman, who later started Bratmobile together. But I think I needed to go away someplace that was even more isolated and feel like we created something on our own that was kind of untouched by it. No, I mean, we were definitely influenced by a lot of Olympia music, but I feel like we had to kind of go away and start our own thing. So that was that. But I mean, I found out about music back then, you know, you didn't have the internet or anything. So like you had to be at someone's house. They either had to give you a mixtape, someone had to give you a mixtape with music on it, or you sat in someone's bedroom and they played records for you and showed you things. And that's how things happened. But, you know, we mostly hung out with girls. So I didn't actually have a whole lot of mansplaining. I mean, sometimes. I remember when we talk about when you talk about lack of representation and stuff in the punk scene, I do remember some of our guy punk friends being like, yeah, but what about the Avengers? So it was always whenever you said there's not enough girls on stage, they'd be like, yeah, but what about some token? And it's like, yeah, well, what if we don't want to be tokenized? Because we're actually half the population, dude. So I don't know. So we'd have all kind of arguments like that. But I was lucky to mostly be part of a girl. Once Bikini Kill kind of came in and took over, it was great. Because then the girls just took over the whole scene and no one really cared that much about what the guys were doing anymore. We were like, what?
That's sick.
Bri, did any of this ever land on your radar? Like, and this is not.
I mean, I kind of had a very opposite experience where I was very frequently the only female around on a tour in bands. I mean, it was just definitely a higher male to female ratio, even going to shows, or even just females being in bands in general. And I feel like I had a very like testosterone music, you know, I was into like, I feel like, 2005 to 2009, like those formative years, it was like, you broke my heart and I'm going to murder you and you're going to crash your car and die. sung by a man about a woman kind of
Oh.
vibes. It wasn't until college until I was like, I started learning about even like bands like Zolop, Rock and Roll Destroyer, which was like, I was like, oh my God, there's like there's a woman playing keyboard in a band and singing. And it was just like, I joined this band like very kind of randomly where my mom I had been taking piano lessons for 10 years and made friends through going to shows and was friends on AIM with my friend Adam from Scranton, who was in a band called Tiger's Jaw, and their keyboard player quit. And I don't know what prompted me to even say this, but I was like, well, if you need someone to like fill in, I do know how to play piano. I loved going to shows. I loved watching bands, but I don't think apart from like, younger me, Spice Girls wanting to be like in a pop, like a pop artist, a pop band. I don't know if I like envisioned that for myself. But then once it happened, it was like, that's been my life since. So, but I was very lucky, even in a male dominated space. I didn't experience as much like misogyny and all the like classic things that could come in that kind of scenario as, some other people have. I think because the group of men around me were good men, and respected me. And like, it was never a thing in Tiger's Jaw that I wasn't, the same as them. But I love even, they would never point it out, but the question, what's it like being a girl in a band? I'm like, I blow dry my hair. Like, I don't know.
It's like, well, you don't know something different, right? You just, you are you in the band. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, my scope definitely like even learning about like, just other, like finding bands where there were women, either all women or like more than one. And, it was really cool. There definitely was like not a regression, but I feel like in our area, it was too like the hardcore punk scene was kind of this male dominated space where it was like women were allowed, but like you would get made fun of if you were a girl that moshed, or you would, like where there were these stipulations that were not like written down rules, but like you knew that you would be made fun of if you did that, which like I broke out of after, my world expanding, which I think was like essential. I'm very grateful for that. But yeah.
Well, you had to be tough. I mean, see, I've never been very tough. I'm kind of wimpy. So I think it took someone like Kathleen Hanna, who's super tough. And I guess, and Toby Vale too, probably, who grew up in Olympia, both in Bikini Kill. But it kind of took them to kind of kick the door down first, or to kind of open it up. And once they did, and they were encouraging other girls to join in, so we just stepped right in.
Yeah, Girls to the Front literally had never heard about that like until like so many years later, and was like, what? I've been missing this I could have been in this the whole time. But yeah, I know now. So
It's hard, I know. Well, I mean, that's interesting to hear though, because I'm like, in more modern times where there is internet and now social media
that's
and all
like
this stuff.
why though, because when I even think about like when Tiger's Jaw, like early days, people would compare us to bands like the Get Up Kids or the Anniversary. We had never heard of them because it was like you said, like the internet didn't really exist. MySpace was like, it was early days of MySpace even, where like, unless your friend group or your older brother or sister or whoever was showing you or, you were introduced to it and it wasn't in mainstream media, you might not ever learn about it. But now you have the world at your fingertips. You could know anything you want at any moment.
Yeah, I guess. Smartphone feed is so like,
oh yeah, it's disgusting. The
it's
algorithm.
Like, yep.
So here's a weird thing, and maybe exactly what you said, Bri, because I've wanted to ask you this before too. The cool thing, my wife being the one who was like, you really have to listen to Tiger's Jaw closer, especially for the way like their voices work together and your songs in particular. She's like, there's really cool layers to this. And she's like, and here's the challenge. You're going to listen to this and you're going to start to say, this sounds like this. And I'm going to tell you to shut up. And then you're going to be like, no, wait, it doesn't. And so there's something about, and maybe it's like learning about music when you don't have access to everything, where you end up creating something that doesn't really sound exactly like anything else, which I'll argue part of the reason Tiger's Jaw is still relevant and doing stuff is because you sound like Tiger's Jaw. You don't sound like all those other bands. What do you think that is? Because I don't think it's on purpose. I think it just happens.
No, I mean, it's always kind of been like that where we never like, there's no plan of like, we're going to sound like this next record. It's going to be this. It's just any songs that we make are going to be ours. Even like, I wasn't always a songwriter in the band. Like when I joined, I just played keys until our album Spin. And then it's like, oh, well, I've never written songs before this, but they're Tiger's Jaw songs because I'm in Tiger's Jaw and I wrote it. And well, we all, collaborate. But still, it's, yeah. I don't know. That's
No, it's important because I think this is like anybody who's a creative like struggles with this. I mean, Allison, you've had what, 6 billion bands? 7 billion? How many bands have you had?
I mean, I don't know, not that many, but
No.
yeah. I mean, there's like Bratmobile, Cold Cold Heart, Steep Lust. I was sort of in this project band called Honey Truth, but I didn't write any of the songs for that. Party Line, Cool Moms, Sex Stains.
These are all amazing band names, by the way.
No, like bats 1,000 on band names,
Yeah.
right?
I
All
don't
hits,
think
no
I
miss.
usually was the one naming it though.
That's
but so I
fine. You had good taste to be in the right place to get those names. That's a
Yeah.
skill.
yeah.
Okay, wait, but for you too, like I feel like there was a defiance of inspiration. Like it was, correct me if I'm wrong, like Bratmobile, you get in the room, there's an energy of the music you're creating together. Because it is a singular sound. Bratmobile sounds different from Bikini Kill, sounds different
Yeah.
from other contemporaries.
Well, it's an urgency too. I mean, we were always long distance, and we're actually back together kind of, and every summer doing handfuls of shows, and we're still really long distance. It's just never gonna resolve that part. So I think it's just knowing that you have to be really efficient with your time, or just maybe not efficient, but you got to throw something together real quick and then just run with it. So that's part of it, is very DIY, because we just didn't have time to polish or perfect anything, that's for sure. But also Molly and I, the drummer, well, we're the two who started the band originally, and then Aaron Smith from Bethesda, Maryland joined us not long after we started, like probably within a year or something. But she was the only one who actually was a quote unquote trained musician. Like she had taken guitar lessons, and so she was the musician in the band. But she had this specific style, like surf guitar, single note mostly.
Which is
And,
the coolest part.
Yeah, it's
I love
cool, and
the
it's
single note
hard.
motif. It's really hard. Yeah.
And it's hard what she does, but it's funny because she thinks that power chords and stuff are hard. So to her, what she's doing is easier, but most people think what she's doing is harder because she just has to go all up and down the neck of the guitar. But yeah, it's interesting. So I don't know. So, but I mean, I took clarinet and bass clarinet in middle school and stuff. So I'm, I've done music, but nothing that I applied towards this band. But so I don't know. But yeah, I guess I don't know. I've lost the plot. But I guess it was just like we were just making what we could with what we knew how to do.
Yeah, and the resources you had at the time.
Yeah.
And the time in your life influencing it. Because that's the thing too, like when we've been a band for 20 years, so it's like what we were doing when we were in high school and had never recorded with someone before, and then doing that record, our self-titled record, definitely is sonically going to be different than the one our 7th LP that we're putting out soon. That like, it's almost like you have to fight at this point because you know too much, where you don't want to let yourself overthink it. Or like, even sometimes I'll find myself listening to music and thinking about the production and I'm like, oh my God, I want to just listen to the song. Like, why am I analyzing this? So it's like, I think trying to respect the like urgency and the purity of like just doing it for fun and not like thinking too hard about the process or the gear or like all this stuff. Like, I mean, you could consider, it's fine to, I think about it, but like, I think when it's too formulaic or like there's like too much of a path or a plan is when it feels stale or like is just a tracing of another band's sound.
Yeah.
what do you think? How do you, and Allison, for you now, how do you think about it? I feel like let's get this on the table too. You're both not just on the road touring 24/7 and that's the entire life. You've had hit records, the royalty streams are just flowing in. Like that's not life. Be nice. It'd be nice.
It would be nice.
It'd be nice, but it's not how life turned out. And because of that, I feel like, and I'm building off of what you said a minute ago, Bri, with like all the different inputs and not trying to overthink things. Like adult musician life is so different. And Allison, again, much like the many, many bands, I feel like I see you doing 1,000 different jobs.
Yeah. Well, that's also LA life.
It is
Like
LA life.
little
How do
this,
you
little that.
how do you think about it? How does it fit together? How does DJing influence like getting Bratmobile shows happening again?
Well, what I'm doing now, I guess it's a little odd because it's like, because we're a reunion band and it's like, no
It's a
matter
weird thing
what
to
I've
say.
done since, Bratmobile has always been the most popular and that would, get the most people at the shows probably. Um, Even though I don't necessarily think it's the best band I've been in or the best musically or whatever, it's just the one that people pay attention to the most. So now that we're playing shows again somewhat, it's still just like we can do it, we want to do it, but we also can do it because we can afford to do it because we get paid enough to do it when we do shows. But also everyone else is busy. Actually, everyone else in the band is probably busier than I am even. But but we're not really writing. We're not writing songs right now. We're not writing new stuff, and I kind of miss that. But I was in bands that were like writing songs and stuff up until it's actually been a little while now, maybe up until the pandemic. But so I don't know. It's kind of weird. It's just one part of everything. But I'm also teaching. I teach a class at UCLA once a year, which we just started the quarter. So I teach 1 hour quarter. I teach a podcast class, actually, radio podcast class in the School of Music. And that's fun. And then, but that takes up all my time once we hit spring quarter. And then I DJ sometimes here and there. And sometimes when people ask Bratmobile, oh, can you play this festival, do this? And if my bandmates can't do it, or if there's not enough money for us to do it or whatever, then I'll be like, I'll DJ or whatever. So sometimes I get gigs that way. I'm like, oh, I'll show up, But I DJ'd a wedding recently, which was
Ooh.
cool, but really terrifying because there's just
My
so
friends
much
and I have a
pressure.
joke about at like, when we're older, it's like that we're gonna be a wedding band. Like that's like the final form.
The final evolution of Tiger's
Yeah.
Jaw is a wedding band.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Well,
If you
it's
can
a
do it,
collaborative. Not even just Tiger's Jaw. It's a little bit
do
of
it.
Title Fight, a little bit of just
So we got
bunch
like
of
a whole
people.
bunch of Scranton bands are all
Yeah.
gonna roll up and
Yeah, basically it's all my friends that we met at shows when we were 16. When we're older, we're gonna be a wedding band. When we're
Okay.
older.
This is something to aspire for.
That's where the
I'm
money
sorry
is.
to
I'll tell you
interrupt.
what.
I just thought wedding band.
No,
But for real,
that is where the money's at.
that
It's,
is what money's at.
wedding, quinceañera, whatever bands. Yeah. So I don't know. And what else do I do? I don't know. Sometimes I do a podcast. Sometimes I don't know. I don't even realize what else I do. Yeah, it's very LA.
It's very LA, but I think it's relatable because Bri, you're teaching
Yeah.
school,
Oh,
private. Connect some of
Yeah.
these dots, like because I want to hear what Allison has to say about this too.
So yeah, I feel like everything I do ultimately is to be able to do Tiger's Jaw, which like I'm very, fortunate to where that it is a good way to make money in the air. Like not that that's what it's about, which I think is why it's also like the other jobs have always existed. But we were all different ages in the early days where, like someone's a sophomore in college and I'm a senior in high school where like we were almost all kind of done, and we had our friends in the band Title Fight, they like, dropped out of college and toured, and that was like my dream. I was like, oh, I'm gonna drop out. But instead I ended up, finishing my BFA and getting a teaching certification and did subbing and all this stuff, but still just the band as the priority. And I mean, I've done a million jobs, like, you know, the babysitting, the restaurant industry vibes. But where I'm at now is like the most like adult version of this. Like everything else has been like a bunch of part-time stuff to add together because the touring schedule is so unpredictable when you're trying to tour as much as possible. When you're finally able to do that, it's hard to get like a job that gives you health insurance and lets you leave whenever you need to.
Yeah.
But I ended up randomly getting a job at the merch company that we get our merch made at, just like because I know how to sew. And one thing that is very big is you could, get a Gildan t-shirt and take the tag out and then have a tag that you made that is your brand sewn in as though you made the shirt. They didn't. But that was my job, was just sewing tags. And now I'm in sales.
Oh.
But the caveat was like Tiger's Jaw is always my priority. Like I will be gone as much as I need to be. And they were like, cool. Because, you know, I still get my merch from there. And now I have health insurance. My husband has health insurance. And then I do love teaching, but something I hated when I did like a long-term sub position as a kindergarten art teacher was like the bureaucracy of it all. And there's like 30 of them. It's so hard to actually provide instruction and let them be as creative. Like my methodology is choice-based, where there should always be an element of like choice or interest or whatever from the students themselves, rather than like I made this example and you're going to make exactly what I made. And if you don't make it like this, you get a bad grade. Like to me, everybody is an artist. It just is like, if you're not good, which it's subjective, then you maybe don't pursue it after 8th grade when it's like mandatory. So doing these I started doing, it's actually funny. Our bass player Collins' mom is a piano teacher, and she had a student that was looking to get art lessons. And I had just finished my master's online, which I did all on tour, which sucked, but I did it. And then was like, oh, I don't actually want to be a teacher or work in a school. And she was like, oh, well, why don't you teach private art lessons? And I was like, I could do that. She's like, yeah, you're literally a certified art teacher, have a master's in art education. I was like, I guess I could do that. And then it's amazing because it's one at a time, and we do like, it's like, it could be what they want it to be, or it could be maybe I present them with a few options, like a structured choice, like, okay, today this is the prompt and you choose whatever medium you want to do it, or this is the medium we're going to learn about and you choose what we're going to paint. And like, I had an 8-year-old that was like, I love watching Bob Ross episodes. Like, can I paint like Bob Ross? And I asked his mom, I was like, do you care? Like, I'll use all these, like, explain the materials and whatever. She goes, hey, you got him, you go for it. And he made amazing things. But it's like, if there were, 20 of them, like 28-year-olds, I would not be able to do that. So that's very fulfilling. And like, it's really nice because the parents understand that I go away from time to time. So being able to have the flexibility is like ideal. It definitely was the process of, I do all of the art for the band, like what we call art direction, I guess, like every album cover, every album layout, either the merch designs myself or curating them, and all of that leading up to getting ready to put out the record that comes out in March. While it was the first time I've had to do all of that while having a full-time job, and that sucked. That was really hard to do because it'd be like I'm staring at a computer 9 to 5 in sales, like trying to, help the T-ball team, the Little League, get their jerseys for the upcoming season ready. And, it's like I get home and I'm like, oh, I have to write lyrics. Like my brain is empty. I've got no more spoons.
Yeah.
So that was a little bit of a learning experience where like my, knock on wood, maybe this record will be the one where we could just it sucks because I hate how it has to, both things have to matter, like doing the band because it's what I want to be doing, but also being able to devote the time and energy to do the band how I want, and also make enough money through the band to sustain all of that. So yeah, I mean, that's adulthood with the band.
Yeah.
It was very sick, being in college and not having as many responsibilities or bills and stuff, but
Yeah.
yeah. We both do a lot. I feel like it's also a creative energy thing where like I think I could do anything if I really wanted to. And sometimes I have to stop myself from doing too much or agreeing to do too much because I want to do it all. Even with the
Yeah.
art lessons, like I have to limit myself. I can only have 4 students, which is not a lot. But if I have more, I can't handle it. So
Yeah. I know. Well, I'm not good at multitasking really, like all at the same time, which sounds weird because of the lifestyle I have, but I have to I kind of have to be concentrated. Like right now, it's like I am in UCLA mode right now. And then, but it's hard because I teach winter quarters so that I can have late spring and summer and fall to do band stuff because that's about when we tend to do stuff. So, but often if we have shows coming up, like let's say we do have shows coming up in even July, I have to start, we have to get to work before that. And
yeah,
so
what are you gonna
often,
practice? What are the merch designs going to be? What are the logistics of getting everybody there? And especially
yeah,
like being like I come from a DIY. Like I always say, we're DIY till we die. Like almost like DIY till we die from not being able to ask for help or reach out to other resources. But there's something so fulfilling in that. But it takes a lot of effort and time and energy. Where I don't know if
yeah,
like people who aren't from the DIY space or like we don't have a manager. Like my
same.
Ben manages us, and um
It's still
like the
hard,
idea that
right?
the idea that someone else is like making decisions relative to your band, but they're not in the band is like hard for me to understand because I've never had that, and I
Hmm.
don't think I ever want it. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, we
it's
have a booking agent now, which we never really used to, but we have a booking agent and we have a publicist sometimes, and we have, now we tend to have a tour manager, sort of here and there. So it's funny, we've never had that kind of stuff, but it still is a lot of work for
yeah.
the original band members to,
Is
I
there
don't know,
one person in your band that is like the travel agent, or like how does that like? Is it something that is kind of delegated between y'all, or is it like are there
well,
some
yeah,
control
I
freaks?
think Molly is more the business. She's like actually a business person kind of. So like she does more of the businessy type stuff. So she tends to buy the plane tickets or whatever. But sometimes I do too. I mean,
Hmm.
but she does a lot of the financial stuff. I usually do all the merch ordering and some of the more and and the guest lists and all that kind of stuff. I
Hmm.
used to advance the shows, but now I guess the tour manager will advance the shows. Um, but I think we're both kind of like micromanagers in a way. So yeah, I can't really imagine having a manager come in without us completely micromanaging. And then it's like, at what point are you like, well, we should just do it? So
Yeah. It'd be easier to do it yourself than it is to explain to someone to do it how you want them to do it. I
yeah,
really struggle with that.
yeah.
So how do you make peace? Like, do you just make peace with this? Like, Allison, is there a point at some point in the adult side of life for for Bri to hear more than anything else here? Like, do you just accept at some point, this is just the way it is, screw it, let's just keep going?
Yeah, I mean, honestly,
Right?
immaturity keeps me young, so I don't know. I'm probably not even as much of an adult as you are, Bri. But so
No, believe me,
yeah, I mean, you're right. At some point, you just kind of have to be like, this is my life. This is my lifestyle. I mean,
yeah.
I just can't believe that I can do this because, in a way, there's a lot of fucking off. It's like, I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm lucky. And I always think, oh, I need to buckle down or whatever. But, I'm not really beholden to anyone. I'm not married. I don't have kids, whatever. So, and I live in a small place that's like, luckily still has cheap rent. So because, you just stay put, you don't move. You don't dare move if you want to keep your rent. So, but it's like sometimes I think about it like, oh, what should I do something else? Should I leave? I mean, this country, first of all, is getting so fascist that I don't know how much
Yeah.
longer can any of us actually be here. I don't want to get shot in the face. So I don't know. Sometimes I'm just like, I should get the hell out of here. And I could go probably like to Thailand and teach and stuff. Teaching, once you start teaching, you can teach. I teach, actually, I didn't mention, I also teach ESL English. Like,
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah, English as a foreign
I've
language.
substitute taught that many times, which as English is my only language, it's something that I like wish I could. I have tried to change, but I just am not very good at learning other languages through the methodologies that I've tried. But yeah, not speaking any other languages and then being the ESL sub was tough.
It's hard. I mean, because I was an exchange student in Thailand when I was like 17, 18, something like that. So I was just fortunate to be able, I learned Thai. I mean, I've forgotten so much of it by now, but I still think I can throw myself back in. But, it's like, I mean, I don't know, but I don't even know who wants to accept Americans at this point. It's just like, we are a shithole country at this point. And we're probably shithole people. So I don't know, but sometimes I'm just like, what's next? Because I don't know how much more I can tolerate. But I'm also very fortunate, and I live a life that's probably a lot more relaxing than what a lot of people are going through right now. So
yeah, I've definitely been grappling, as I approach my I'm 34, so is 35 your mid 30s? Whatever. I'm going to be
It is a
35.
midpoint. We're going to give you that.
Having an alternative lifestyle to the conventional, where your friends and your family are doing the thing, buying the house, having the kids, having the career, and then being here where in a routine where things feel very normal and then gone, like absent and then back. It's like there's sort of like, I think I'm actually stealing this. Haley from Paramore said this in an interview, but there's like an arrested development that kind of, I feel where, like even working a 9-to-5 job, I feel like, and respect to my job, but I feel like it's sucking the soul from my body because I am not meant for that. Like I have not been built for that. Like I could do, 3 days of work in 8 hours, or I cannot get anything done in one day. And I think how you were saying about like, you could like the multitasking of it all, where you're doing like one thing at a time, but you're getting to do different things.
yeah,
Where like that would really scratch the ADHD itch for me, where like it's great. It makes you not get burnt out of those things because you're not having to do it all year long or whatever. But yeah,
you don't feel stuck.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. I know it's weird, but I've started feeling stuck today, and I'm like, why do you feel stuck? You're so fortunate. But it's just like, I think it's just the psychic death of what's going on all around us. It's like, it's hard to take.
So is the stuck feeling today more just like the macro world, or is the stuck feeling today like, I'm not saying you're bored at your job, but like, is it internal or external? I think that's my stuck question.
It's probably both, but I think right now it feels a little external. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, like, for example,
It's
today.
been a pretty lousy week in the world when we're recording
it's been
this.
horrible.
So,
But first thing I get up, it's like, turns out ICE has completely like started grabbing people in my neighborhood. Like they have been abducting people down the street from me. And I was like, oh my God, I got to get up and get out there in the street. But I had this, but also I've slept in really late, and I was like, I've been having a hard time sleeping lately. So I've been like waking up in the middle of the night and then sleeping half the day and stuff. I don't know. But I think it is that psychic kind of like trauma. But
oh, sorry, go ahead.
well, no, but I'm just sort of like, I can sit there and be like afraid, but at the same time that people are getting kidnapped off the streets. And so it's like, you still feel like you got to go try to do something about it. But at this point, I don't even know what to do. It's like that there's no accountability. There's no rule of law. There's nothing,
No,
Can I-
like I want to advocate and like do whatever I can to prevent harm to other people, because like I believe in empathy and humanity or whatever, but then it's like, well, what the fuck am I gonna do? like You know, like it can feel very paralyzing. And then how fast things happen where it's like, oh yeah, well, like it has been leading up to this point. So like, I don't feel surprised. I feel like disheartened that it's just like it's going to get worse. Like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then
I mean,
the
maybe
band
just
having a
showing
platform
up.
and wanting to do
I
what
know.
I can, but
Yeah, I know. It's something I'm just like reposting stuff on Instagram or whatever. And I'm like, but I start
keep
thinking
my
like,
to the echo chamber.
right.
You know, that's the other thing. Like, who follows me? It's mostly people that agree with how I
Yeah.
feel.
But it seems like if we flooded the streets or something and you just could
Yeah.
physically see all the people who dissent, maybe.
There's something so powerful and I think important about the pandemic and the social justice movements that were able to happen or people participating
Yeah.
because the 9 to 5 didn't exist, where a lot of people are
Yeah.
like, well, I want to do this but I can't afford to, because that's how the culture is, this like
Yeah.
capitalist culture where we have to work 40 hours a week to get the demand productivity.
Yeah.
Where
That's true.
it's
So
no, I want to be able to like, and like you sacrifice where you can, but it's also like I'm still like trying to get by and pay my bills.
Yeah.
And I need to like figuring out a way to balance being able to like, be like stick up for people and like try to help prevent wrong when you can. It's like, but then it's like I also have to live and
Yeah.
make money, and it's just so fucked.
Yeah.
only because I think I've been thinking about this in this context, it really is, it's kind of kicking my ass, and I will hate myself if I don't ask the question. So Allison,
Mhm.
I think about your mom and the stories about your mom and the things that she did in the community, not always as somebody who was, I'm saying upstanding in the sense of like, she wasn't scared to piss off cops. She wasn't scared to piss off can you tell Bri about your mom and just
Oh, yeah.
like why I'm asking you this question? Because I think it applies in this context.
Yeah. I mean, she was super tough, first of all. But yeah, so my mom ended up like after she divorced my dad when I have a twin sister when we were 7-ish, and she came out as like a lesbian feminist right after that, and then she went back to school. She had been a nurse who focused on like gynecology and stuff like that, and she went back and got a higher degree, became a registered nurse practitioner, and then she started the first women's health clinic in our county, in Thurston County and in Olympia, Washington, but the second in the whole state of Washington. And that was in like 1980, I think. And she just was really outspoken. They had abortions were occurring, of course, at her clinic, and she got protested a lot, and she was just always out there, counter protesting whatever. And the cops, of course, never supported her. So she would go to town hall meetings and stuff, and she was always going off about the cops and how they didn't protect her and they didn't protect people in town. And yeah, they would get pissed. And yeah, I don't know. I remember one time we were driving, borrowing my mom's car. We came home for Christmas or something, and we got pulled over, and the book got thrown at it. Like, my little sister was driving, and we called my mom after them. We're like, what the hell? And she was like, oh, yeah, did they run the license, the plates and everything? You're like, yeah. She's like, yeah, they don't like me right now. I'll pay
Oh
it.
my God.
Sorry. Because they're like, it didn't make sense. Like, they just, anything they could think of, they were throwing at my sister. And I was like, what? We maybe went 5 over the speed limit. You know what I'm saying? So I was
Yeah.
just like, what's going on?
Abusing their power.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, imagine that. So,
Shocking.
but she also just stood up for a lot of people, like anyone that she felt like was being oppressed in any way. And she spoke up and spoke out. And even though Olympia, Washington is kind of known as like liberal college town, there's a lot of conservative people, especially from around there. And there's an army base nearby and stuff. So it's like there's some conservative stuff going on and some weird right-wing Christian crap. So it's, I don't know. Like, she had to wear a bulletproof vest to work, and she started carrying a Glock and a fanny pack to work because, there were threats against her. And she also used to perform like rape kits. Like, this is before they were routinely done in hospitals. she would do them in her clinic, and then she'd go testify in court against rapists and stuff, and she'd get death threats for that. So, yeah, I wish I could be half as badass as her, but, I guess I'll sing songs about it. But
Yeah.
but I mean, yeah, she would be out in the streets and in cops' faces right now for sure. But I'm like, right now I'm a little bit scared of getting shot in the face. But I mean, a lot of people are experiencing worse. So
Yeah.
Wasn't make you think about like that type of attitude, that type of, I don't want to call it or equate it to performing. I'm not trying to make some weird false equivalency for anything that you guys are doing professionally or with your art. But I do want to say, like, there's an act of like not fleeing the scene of the drama, the trauma, and whatever other crap is going on right now. And like really, and this is what I love about the story about your mom, she was committed to that community
yeah,
beyond. Like, she was not leaving. She was there to do her thing.
yeah, and she made connections with people who she knew could help. Like there actually was a cop who was like also a lesbian feminist who ended up. I think she actually ended up having to leave because some rapist guy ended up at the, once he got taken in, was injured by the cop or
Injured.
something like
Yeah.
that. But that woman later became unjudged. And, my mom made alliances with people like that, like-minded people.
Well,
And
that's like, isn't that the hope and the goal that the like-minded people who are like considerate of all people, even those that don't think the same as them, end up in these positions of power that can benefit everybody instead of harming the people that the people in power want to harm for whatever reasons.
yeah. And she would, like there are times when the pharmacist wouldn't want to honor prescriptions that my mom had written for women. And so she'd have to march down there and yell at them. And, just there's a lot of stuff like that. Like I think she wrote a prescription for someone had a rash on their hand. And they're like, but she's a gynecologist. She can't write a prescription for your hand. And she had to go down there and go, women have hands, by the way. Like, or, whatever.
Yeah. Also, she's a licensed nurse practitioner. She legally can write a prescription for whatever she wants.
Yeah.
Because that's how the law is, right? Or at least my understanding of it. I don't actually know that.
Yeah, no, it's true. And it's just some Christian ass pharmacist who wants to like fuck with her, and fuck
Yeah.
with anyone who goes to her clinic, fuck
Yeah.
off. But yeah.
So make me hopeful about this. Try. I'm asking you to try. Bri, I want you on this first, because like you come up in this DIY scene, this DIY community, you're going to church show basements, you're doing this whole thing. Like, how do you think about your role now in this phase of life to the seventh grader who's coming to a show for the first time ever? Do you think about that? Do you balance that in any way?
Oh, I mean, I do in the sense of like, I live in the same area. I don't live in the same town. I live like 40 minutes away, but the northeastern Pennsylvania is like its own bubble. Like you would say you're from Northeast PA. It doesn't even matter that I'm from the village of Hamlin. But
Shout out Hamlin.
shout out Hamlin.
Yeah.
My parents still live there. It's really funny. But anyway, so yeah, I think like living here and there, like, it was like, you're so part of the scene and then you move away to college, but you're still coming home for things, but then you're touring more. And then after moving here, it's like the scene is like, it's all different people and just feels a little different, but like then shows will happen that feel like they did in the past. And I don't know, I think it is because there's a difference of like in the early days, we were booking the shows, we were doing the sound of the shows, we were promoting the shows, putting out flyers, all this stuff. And now even with the age of the internet and like not being like, the people to do that right now in the current scene, it is more just like I'm like observing and attending versus like, helping
Making.
to, yeah. But I don't know. I think it's cool. It's really like humbling and like gratifying to meet people that love my band and grew up in the same area as me and have that be kind of full circle. Like even my friend Tatum's son, Gavin, He was like 7 or something, 6 or 7 when I met him for the first time, because Tatum was doing my hair. I had gone to the salon for the first time to get my hair done by her, and he was just a little boy, and he got like, he's one of the biggest Tigers Jaw fans that I know, and now he's 18 and has a band, and I just saw his show. I saw him I went to his show, and it's like, oh wow, it's like, you know, I don't know, it's cool to see it built upon and not have been there the whole time, but been a part of it because we were there at the time we were.
That's cool.
But it could also be like the coal runoff in the water. There's just something with Northeast PA. Like, there's always been a music scene that was really like there's nothing else, you know, like the blue collar mentality, the DIY mentality of like, if you want it, like, you got to work hard to get what you want. And like, you know, venues the community as a whole not understanding, and venues closing, and not seeing how positive of a thing it is for the youth of our area to have this, and it like enduring despite that the whole time is like, I think, really cool to get to see living, you know, back in the same area.
I think it's awesome that you're going to shows like that, and especially with the through line and that connection. How do you think about this, Allison? Like, do you think about 17-year-old you ever? Do you think about like reaching? I know you've got experiences now probably with like 2 generations of people coming out to see shows. That's got to do something to your head, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's really cool. Like with our shows now, you'll see like parents with their kids, like, you know, mothers or fathers or whatever with their kids at our shows, daughters or you know, and non-binary and sons and whoever. But yeah, it's pretty cool to see multiple generations. And I mean, you know, you think about how we ever got into this in the first place is that we were once little nerdy fans or whatever, you know, and we're all
Yeah.
fans of something, right? So, yeah, I still get like, you know, kind of nervous when I'm around people who influence me or whatever, you know. And I
Yeah.
mean, even or
Your
like,
peers though,
yeah,
too, where it's like, oh, I can't even, like, the full circleness is never ending for me.
yeah. Like I saw the Avengers play the other night, and I mean, Penelope Houston, and that, you know, obviously was an influence, one of the first women in punk that I knew about, you know, and so that was cool. Like, you know, and for her to, we know each other a little, you know, but for her to like recognize me in the crowd and be like, you know, it's so exciting, but I'm still such a little fan. So yeah, I mean, we all just kind of, you know, stand on the shoulders of giants and whatnot, and everyone's kind of looking up and looking all over the place. So yeah, it's cool. I mean, it's weird though. Sometimes in the moment, it's hard for me to like when someone's kind of like, "Oh my god," you know, and it's hard for me to think like to.
Oh yeah, I really
know,
struggle with that too, where I'm like,
take a compliment. I'll be like, "What do
yeah,
you mean? It's just me, and I'm just here
yeah.
sloppy and whatever." You know?
Like, I'm a normal person. I'm actually really weird and nerdy, and like,
Yeah,
you know, like, you could just like talk to, like, you know, it's just straight, but then I feel that way. So that's trying to like remember that and like have like, I don't know, it's a really strange thing to
yeah,
like even have to consider
yeah,
that someone cares who you are.
yeah.
They
But I think
perceive.
I make myself, but I also tend to, I think I make myself more available to audiences and whatever than a lot of my peers, to be quite honest. And that's fine. Like most people probably don't really have as much time for it, but I don't know. I'm really social, and I'm also really. I've always just kind of been like I want to be with the people, just be out there and hanging out and stuff. So I
And
tend to
I've
be out
made
there hanging out more.
I've made great friends that are just people that have been fans of Tigers Jaw that have come to shows where, like, you know, they come up to meet me or whatever, and we get to talking, and we have like all this stuff in common, and yeah. And then
Yeah,
seeing them years and years later, like, that's not to get on a tangent, but that's also one thing that I feel like a lot of people that aren't in this like world have difficulty understanding is like how many people you meet where the relationships end up being deep, and long lasting, where it's like, yeah, all my best friends, like pretty much we met in high school. We went to different high schools maybe, but like even my husband, we've been dating since I was 16.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You're
But, like,
married.
I'm married, yeah.
Oh
We
my
got married
God.
on our 15th anniversary.
Wow.
Yeah. But we met because we played a show together, his band and my band, and then we were, friends. And then eventually it was like, yeah, we're going to date. And to like even the scope of that, it's like, but then our wedding reception didn't happen because of this the problem of so many people are so meaningful to us across the globe, where it was like a guest list of 450 people. I was like, we're not having this. It's like, it was like we couldn't narrow people down. But like, my mom has like one best friend. So it's just like very different than I feel like a lot of people get to experience. So I feel very grateful for that, because how enriching is that in your life to know so many people because of something that you connect through and enjoy. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And I know it's something that maybe we take for granted, all coming from like kind of punk rock scenes or whatever. And sometimes you don't realize that maybe a lot of people don't necessarily have that or didn't come from kind of broader communities of people. Although I don't know, I have to say, as you get older and move around and stuff, it does kind of still fall off somewhat. It's not that I'm not friends with people, but I'm not anywhere near a lot of those people. Like they're just,
Yeah.
I don't know. They don't
And
live
isn't-
down the street from me.
And isn't there a weird thing too about having like a deep conversation with somebody, or you feel that click, but you're the one traveling through. They're the local one. You're the one traveling through. And then 6 months or a year or 2 years later, you go through on tour again and you see them again and you pick up right where you left off.
Yeah.
It's a different type of connection when you're on the road that you can form.
Yeah, I miss that. But I know, because I haven't really toured in a while. I mean, I guess what do long weekends here and there, kind of a thing. But we'll see.
You about to go back out on the tour, Bri? Is that the plan?
Oh yeah, it's 6 weeks, but split into 2 parts because my bandmates have babies and we've got birthdays and weddings. Yeah.
So it's a
Wow,
whole
recreate-
structured.
It's amazing. It's like as though the babies have always been there, but also like I cannot it's like, oh wait, you have a kid you have 2 kids? That's crazy. But yeah, we do like end of March into April, and then we're off for a month, and then May into June, and then we go to England to play a festival. It's like we haven't put out a record since 2021, which was a pandemic record. So that was also like a strange,
Records
that's
without touring is just a
Yeah.
weird, yeah.
Yeah.
And then it was like when you finally could tour, we could, we did, but then it just like, I don't know, it's the longest between records we've ever done. And towards the tail end of that, like at the end of the record cycle, we were touring less so because we didn't have new stuff out. But now we're like gearing up again for the new record cycle. And I have it like the last time we did this, it was the pandemic. Like, so I feel like I had to get over a little bit of PTSD of like being so excited about this thing that you've worked so hard on. And then the way that you would usually like celebrate and, spread the fruits of your labor couldn't happen, where now it's like, oh, this is going to happen. And I have to remind myself that I have also done this before and get over kind of the anxiety of it could all go wrong and just enjoy the experience, because that is the part that I love the most. I love the process of writing with my bandmates and recording and then doing the art and touring. I love touring. I think the balance is nice. I'm not mad about anybody having kids either, because the balance of like, I love being gone for a few weeks and then being home, because then I don't get too jaded with either.
Yeah.
Because then I'm looking forward to going away. And then by the time of the end of that, I'm really looking forward to going home and having those routines. And also like being fortunate enough to be at a place where we have usually we tour in a bandwagon. I don't know if you've heard of those, but it's like, it's not a bus. It's more like an RV. There's no shocks. So there are bunks, but you're bouncing up and down every time they hit a bump. But being able to wake up in the city that you are playing and having your entire day is so much better for my mental health because I have narcolepsy. And if I'm in a moving vehicle and I am not the one driving, I'm likely going to fall asleep. So when we were touring in a van before I was only diagnosed this year too. So it was like, oh, my whole life makes sense now. Like we'd drive a few hours after the show, sleep like, 4 or 5 hours at the hotel, and then it'd be like a 6-hour drive to the show, and I'd sleep the 2-hour ride, when we're at the hotel, and then the 6 hours. Like I could sleep like crazy. But then it's like my whole day I'm like not conscious. And then you show up at the show and you have to figure out if you're going to eat and when you sound check and all these things where it's like the logistics are kind of like more nuanced throughout the day. We're having like this luxury of being able to wake up in the city you're going to play in and have kind of a set schedule every day where I know I could like wake up and find a place to get coffee and walk around maybe and actually see these cities that were, I've been to this city however many times and I've only been there at like 5 p.m. to
Like, I've been on one block
yeah.
from 5 p.m. to midnight, and that's all
Yeah,
I
like
know about
I
your
was
city.
in the Czech Republic for we played a show there, and we literally were there from like we were late, so like 8 p.m. to 12 after the show, or 12:30 when the show was done, and I didn't see one part of that city. So it's like, yeah, I bet I've been there, but have I been there? I don't think so.
Yeah.
So I think we're at a place now that does feel very like nice, where we're not touring. We're touring enough where it's like I'm like really grateful and happy to be doing that, but then we're home enough, and then we're in this scenario where like the schedule's better, like just like, yeah.
I wrote down a couple of notes. I got to ask you a couple of questions about things you said, and then you're going to guess why I wanted to introduce you. So, Allison, I'm asking you first.
Mhm.
Bri said she was asking you about the Nirvana thing,
Mhm.
and that it was like, does it feel profound to say you were really there? I'm curious, is it the profundity of it all? Does it feel overrated? Like, does it matter that you were actually there? Is it a cool thing that you're actually there? Is it weird that you're actually there for these things?
I mean, I don't know. I think I was very lucky to maybe be in a certain place at a certain era, certain time. So I think being in Olympia, and I mean, even though we ended up kind of creating our own scene and things, it still feels like there were a lot of things that fell in place that weren't just what we created, but what other people. It was a broader community, and that was super DIY and really like kind of shrugged off the I don't know, standard structures of what a band could be or how to write what a song is and all that kind of stuff. And I don't think I could have done it otherwise. But yeah, so I mean, in that way, having things like that going on. I mean, I remember seeing that show and thinking, oh, this band, it sounds like it's going to be really big. I remember thinking that, like, they sound kind of, I don't think they sound like Zeppelin, but in my mind, I thought, oh, they're like this kind of punky Zeppelin or something. They're going to be big, or that's big, a big sound or something. But at the same time, they still weren't necessarily everyone's favorite band in town. The Melvins played a lot, and of course Nirvana worshiped the Melvins. I mean, so, and came from the same town. So there was just a lot of cool, weird things going on. And there was a band called Girl Trouble that I saw all the time from Seattle. I mean, they're not huge, but they were my favorite band, I think, at the time. But yeah, I don't know. So sometimes it seems incidental in a lot of ways, or just sort of happenstance. But I don't know. I think it was cool. But I think what ended up happening too, and with Nirvana later, is just it just became too much, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's obviously, and it's sad. But I think by then I wasn't really paying it that much attention to Nirvana anymore. I was more focused on like what were all the girls doing and stuff like that, But
Bri,
I don't know.
these are important questions to ask. I love the way that you answer that, because I don't think there's an answer to it.
Yeah.
Bri, Allison said something about going away to find out what you created at home? And I feel like I saw your face like go, oh yeah, oh yeah, that. What was that experience like for you? When did you realize, how did you have to leave the area that you grew up in to figure out like, hey, there's a cool world out there. The world actually thinks you're cool and it's okay to be back in your small town too.
I mean, starting with just playing shows out of the area, because it was kind of like a bubble where the same, 10, 15 bands were playing kind of just different lineup setups in either Scranton or Wilkes-Barre, which are only 20 minutes apart, but like maybe one weekend you play Wilkes-Barre and then the other weekend you play Scranton, and being able to experience like other people like even 2 hours away in Doylestown or Philly that are singing along, and then like more diversity even in an area than like the predominantly white area that I grew up in was like very important for me, I think, as a person to experience and like understand the world as a whole as not just being like an echo chamber bubble. And going to college was the first time I had like formed I had lived away from my parents and being able to establish myself as an adult, and then going home for shows was like really amazing because it was like returning to that comfort. But yeah, I don't know, being back, I think the reason, my husband and I talk about this a lot because we would love to live in LA. There's something about that California sun that does a lot for the serotonin in my body. But
Yeah.
it's like our families all live here. Like, like our parents all and the majority of our friends live here. And there's just something about the comfort of this place. And like I said, how Northeast PA is like it encompasses so many different areas where it feels like I'm from the same area living 40 minutes away than where I grew up, where there's enough space where I do feel like I'm establishing my own, like I've, entered a new community that I am now a part of. I mean, I guess I've
Got a new coffee shop, new pizza place,
Yeah,
Miss
I actually
Nicholas?
live right by Curry Donuts, dropping that. It doesn't use actual curry. It's just called Curry Donuts.
Oh, I was like, oh, that's exciting.
It's
That's
so
exciting.
weird. It tastes like Folgers. That's why it's great.
What?
That's why I like
Like-
Buona Pizza too. Like it just is as basic as it
Looking at the
gets.
suns.
But there's like something
You're getting
nice
the
about
California
being able
sun.
to
It's
come
working.
back.
Don't worry.
It's
Yeah.
going down. It's going down.
Just taunting you with that, Bri.
But I don't know, like even with the sun, like I don't know. After about 10 years living here, I was like, oh my God, it's completely damaging my skin. And I wasn't wearing sunscreen every day or
That's
any of
okay.
that. Because I grew up in the Northwest where you don't see the sun most of the year. And so you would never put sunscreen on unless you were going to the beach or the
Yep.
pool or something. So it took me about 10 years to finally realize that, or more. And then I finally was like, oh God, and so now I avoid the sun. So sometimes I'm like, do you even need to live here anymore then? If you don't even go outside in the middle of the day when it's nice out? I don't know.
I mean, it also could have to do with the opportunity that exists there, because that's, I think, something that I grapple with living in a place where the opportunities, career or creatively, are kind of more limited than they are in a bigger city.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah.
I mean, but I lived in New
But it's
York right
cheaper
before
too, too.
here. Yeah, that's true.
Mhm.
But I found that once I left New York, I was only there for like 3 years, but when I came here, I had way more opportunities. It's just people were just more open. Things were a little looser, I felt like there was just way too much competition in New York, and that weird scarcity mentality was too much. It was just too much in New York. And I felt like it just doesn't feel like there's as much of that here. Or maybe when I moved here, there didn't seem to be so much of that.
Well, maybe related to that, another question for you, Allison, was just about what Bri brought up. We were talking about the logistics of making art. And I'm curious about the balancing act between still finding urgency for doing things with the crappy reality of adult logistics.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I do think I need to set aside and find more time to be creative because I sometimes I just think it's like, wow, look around, like, oh my God, you need to do the dishes, and oh, look at that mess over there. And, sometimes it's just housekeeping. And I'm like, oh my God, this place is insane. I can't even think straight because it's so much crap everywhere or whatever. So sometimes I just feel overwhelmed by just the logistics of life, right? Our daily life.
Daunting.
It's just, um, so I don't know, but yeah, I think it's important to try to set aside time or make dates with people to be creative or something. But I'm also really social, so I kind of think I need to do things with other people a lot more. And I don't really get that opportunity necessarily because also in LA, like everyone's living in a different neighborhood and traffic and space really do create a barrier here. Like, no one wants to be traveling during rush hour or whatever. And rush hour lasts at least 3 hours here, 4 hours maybe, so you're like, oh, I am not going anywhere between like 4 and 7 or 3 and 7 or whatever, sometimes. If I don't have to. And so sometimes there just seems like there's a lot of barriers. And the older you get, the more and busier, and everyone's just in their little nuclear families and like that. And I've never done that. So I gotta sneeze. So I have pretty bad allergies. So I'm like, oh. And I'm looking at the tree I'm allergic to. So
Yeah, it's taunting.
That happens to me too.
So I don't know. So I think I've actually lost a little bit of that and need to get back to it a little bit more. And sometimes it's just reading, just like taking time to sit and read. And I'm trying to do more of that now too, because I'm like, oh, I really enjoy reading about all these different bands or things like that, and I need to do that, get more into storytelling and stuff like that. I don't know. I don't really have an answer. I don't know if I'm doing anything right.
That's a
I
good
feel
sign.
like I can't do anything unless I have an assignment, even creatively. Which
Is that what gives you the urgency? Back to this idea? Is that where it comes from for you?
Yeah.
Deadlines?
Yeah. I need a deadline. I need a deadline. I need a task at hand. But it can be frustrating to claim myself as an artist. But without Tiger's Jaw predominantly being the thing requiring all of this art and creative energy, I don't know. I don't know what I would do. Like, I love the purpose of it all, I think. And at least I have this like outlet to channel it into. And then I also like creatively, like art, I do a lot solo, but there's something for me about being in a band and the collaborative nature of it, where I like the accountability from other people, because it's hard to be accountable to myself. Like what you're saying with like the dishes, cleaning, like all of that. It's like, if I know if someone's coming over, I like want to, but the motivation otherwise without that urgency, maybe it's our ADHD, but yeah.
I have it pretty bad.
Definitely.
That definitely runs in my family. Yeah. And me.
Yeah, me too.
All right, it's time to play the game. You're going to see if you can guess. I wrote down my answer. Allison, I'm making you go first. Why do you think I thought it'd be so cool to introduce you to my friend Bri here?
Well, I think you thought that because I'm guessing maybe she used to like the Spice Girls. Maybe.
Yeah.
And that you thought that maybe that I didn't. And
I had a
something
hunch.
about Duran.
I'd have a hunch.
And something about Duran.
Something about Duran.
Well, okay. Because I wanted to say that I actually loved Duran Duran when I was I went
How
and
could
saw
you
them
not?
when I was 14. Yeah, it was my age. But I remember making fun of people who like the Spice Girls or later, but it was so much later, and I felt like they just completely ripped off girl power from us, from Riot Grrrl. So I was like, fuck you guys. But in the end,
I know that now, but as a 7-year-old, I did not.
Well, I thought about it because I was thinking once when, one of my mom's friends was complaining about how she had to take her daughter to Spice Girls in Seattle that night. And I was like, when I was that age, I was pining over Duran Duran. And at least with Spice Girls, maybe your daughter can feel like she might not, oh, I want to go out with them maybe, but but not like, oh, can I just go out with them, or will he notice me type of bullshit. But I could be on stage too.
That
And I
could
thought,
be
well,
me. That's
right.
huge.
There was female empowerment. Like
Yeah.
the concept of girl power was like formative for me, but like hilarious in retrospect with how my life ended up that it came from the Spice Girls and not like Bikini Kill.
But
know.
yeah, like, so then therefore that proves my point, that I was like kind of turned around and thought, well, hey, I was pining over fucking Duran Duran. Oh, will John Taylor notice me? Instead of like, hey, if we got to get with my friends, I want to be up there on stage and stuff too, maybe. So I was like, that's actually way better of an example for young girls. So yeah. But then the cool thing is that when I was telling this mom about that, she was like, wait, what? She was like, I worked that Duran Duran concert in Seattle that you went to in like 1985 or whatever. And I was like, what? She was like, yeah, I was caterer for it. And I was like, oh my God. So we were sharing our stories about that night. So that was cool.
Duran Duran and
That's
Spice
okay.
Girls
So,
are on the
okay, boy.
table. What
So
do you
I
think,
feel like
Bri?
maybe that's what.
All right. I'm liking where this is going.
Could it be that we're both women in bands? I'm just
That's
joking.
too obvious.
I
That's
mean,
too
I
obvious.
think yes, I know. Yeah, you're thinking deeper than that. I don't know. Maybe it is the aspect of the DIY nature of our experience as creatives and musicians and bands.
I think we're all circulating around the same stuff. So what I wrote down was creative life is a pretty cool mess. It's not lost on you too. Yeah, huh?
Wow.
That's good.
That's great.
That was my hunch going into this thing. But seriously, the DIY thing. I will put the marker on that and the small scene thing. Because for two places that are not mainstream cities on opposite sides of the country at opposite points of time, it is staggering how many similar stories you have in your past. And I hope this conversation continues in some way, shape, or form. Because the scene that like Bratmobile emerged from and then became a national phenomena, if you will, I will say that, is very similar to what I saw Tiger's Jaw do and be like, holy crap, did you see what this band from Scranton, Pennsylvania is doing? That's made up of these like who even were these kids that were hanging out? It's so cool. Allison, what do we plug in these days? Any tours, anything we have coming up? Is this record coming back to Record Store Day? Because this is a cool issue.
So the reissue of the Real Janelle EP. So it's the first time it's been reissued on vinyl since it came out in like 94 or whatever. But also the Peel Session is the first time that's ever been released. Because it was released briefly, but you couldn't even find it by Strange Fruit or whatever label is allowed to put out Peel Sessions, it's very strict. I think.
Do you know what Peel Sessions is, Bri? Does this any awareness? You want to explain just what this is? Because it's cool.
Yeah, there was like this kind of radio pioneer of playing cool punk and post-punk and whatever in England named John Peel. He's not alive anymore. But I think he started with offshore boats off of London.
It was part of the pirate radio thing.
Right. They
to get into the
like
nerdery of the whole thing. Yeah, it was very cool. Yeah.
But in the end, then he ended up being part of, I guess, like the BBC would record. He would choose bands, and they would record a special session, and they'd play it on his radio show and stuff like that. But also, there was a way to there was one company that could release it as well, but it was kind of difficult to release. It's very difficult to license. I have a feeling it cost our label a lot of money to license it, but they finally got it. So it's finally being released out there. But they were both recorded within like a month of each other, both EPs, and they're now together on the same record. So that's exciting. It was released special for Black Friday Record Store Day, but Kill Rock Stars is going to repress it, but not on colored vinyl, but I think just whatever, black vinyl. And that should be coming out in the future. Hopefully not too long, maybe in a month or so. And then Bratmobile hopefully will be doing shows again this summer somewhere. I don't know. That reminds me, I have to contact our booking agent and check in on that. We'll see. But I want to know, is Tiger's Jaw playing LA?
We are.
When?
We are. That's a good question. Let me look at the ad map.
Look at that. And you got to tell us, actually, while you're looking this up, I am plugging this for any Bratmobile things. I heard once that you would play shows for pierogies or that you're interested in.
Well, when we played in New York, that was my main thing, is that we played, is it Warsaw? Is that the place we played?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Ukrainian club,
I
and they
love
give you
it
the
there.
pierogi.
Ukrainian Grrrl. Yeah,
And that was
yeah.
like such a big deal to me. And of course, they brought them to me, and they were in the dressing room, and after the show, I didn't eat them till after the show, and they were so cold by then. I was like, what's the point of this? But it was really fun. It was a great show there. So
I am pitching Bratmobile right now. This is on the record. I'm going to hold this up because I didn't get to put this shirt on. We have in the greater Wilkes-Barre Scranton area Pierogi Fest every single year.
Oh,
If Cultish Creative needs to back a Bratmobile and an Allison Wolfe DJ set in or around Pierogi Fest with a Tiger's Jaw and or Bri set, I'm telling you,
to be there.
the
I'd play
pierogies
the,
will
like,
flow.
What are they're like not a bandstand, but it's like a truck that
Out of the
that-
side of a truck
Yeah,
with that shell thing. Yeah, you got to do that.
or in the beer tent. Sometimes there's
At
a
a
band.
bazaar. Yeah, there's stuff going
Yeah.
on.
Oh my
There's
God.
a VFW somewhere near a pierogi fest. You
It
tell us
was
when you
big.
get convenience.
That big building downtown, that's like an electric building, right?
The
And it
Electric
has that,
City building.
yeah, it has that thing on top. I don't know. That was really
Yeah.
cool.
And the train
I
station.
like it there.
Lots of cool stuff.
And
Yeah.
there's like some kind of like in the town square, like every Friday, is there something, some kind, or the
First
Look at the-
Friday.
or is it for?
usually?
Yeah, First
I
Friday
showed
in
up and that
Wilkes-Barre
was
does that
happening. I
too.
remember that. That was
Yeah,
cool.
they have a really cool art scene there. I remember when I was younger wanting to show one day at AFA Gallery, which is where I'm assuming you went to the art show. We play LA. We play the Regent on
Okay,
June 7th.
June 7th. Okay, I want to go.
Well, we'll have to become. Do you have Instagram? We'll have to
Yeah.
connect after this so
I'll
that
send emails. You
Okay,
guys are
yeah.
friends.
Yeah, connect us. I'm
Let people talk to
yeah.
my people,
Which
yeah.
we've all established. None of us have.
I'm real
Yeah,
baby
we're-
How
we
this will
are
go.
But yeah, I'm real baby donut on
real baby donut.
Yeah, on the Insta.
All right, I'll add you in. Mine is my full name with my full maiden name without vowels.
Oh, okay. That's
We'll
Yeah.
solve it. We'll solve it in the email for the questionable spellings. Bri, when's the new record come out? What else? Where are people looking up Tiger's Jaw for more info?
So Tiger's Jaw has a new record coming out March 27th. It's called Lost on You. It's the best thing we've ever done. We're more locked in than ever, the five of us. It's amazing. Yeah, I'm really excited about it. We have a new single. We just put out a new single like a couple days ago. And then there's another one coming out like every month till the record comes out.
This is
Recording
how we
music
do it these
videos.
days. Look at
okay,
this.
wait, I want to give a shout out. Okay, so it's Jess Mione. Is that okay? And like I think she started the Scranton. It says Scranton Punk Collective, and the Final
Yes.
Flea Market. So I think that's a fiction. Wait, how do I do it?
There we go.
That-
There we
that
go.
was do you know her?
I've never met her
person,
in
but, yeah.
person, but I know who she is.
Okay,
Local
cool.
celebrity, if you will.
Local celebrities.
Okay,
Jess
I was like,
Mione.
that's who
Went
I
on
know.
Just
there.
Press Record too at some point. We got
Okay.
connections. We've established this now.
Cool.
Well, listen, Allison, Bri, this has been absolutely remarkable. I'm so happy that you guys got
Yeah,
to
this
come
was
hang
really
out with
fun.
me today.
Not that I'm like,
Yeah,
it was just like, it's a little nervous to blind meet,
I bet.
but this was really fun. It was really great to talk to you, Allison.
Great to
I
talk
can't
to you
wait to-
too.
I can't wait to like educate myself on all the things that I didn't know about you, like all the bands you've been in and listen to them.
Oh,
This is going to be
have fun
fun.
with that. I don't know if it translates to now, but we'll see.
It translates enough. Check out the Peel sessions. You'll love the energy. And I am going to plug too. My favorite Misfits cover ever is definitely that Where Eagles Dare.
Really.
Hey, you got
Ooh.
oh,
We've revived that for our live shows, and I always have a guest singer come do it with me, so that's been pretty fun.
it is the way to cover the Misfits if you're going to cover the Misfits. You're watching Just Press Record. This is Cultish Creative YouTube. I'm Matt Zeigler. Like, subscribe, comment all the things below, and we are out.
Thank you.